Blessings and welcome, my sisters and brothers, in the love and in the light of our infinite Creator. This is the Law of One study channel, conscious channeling of LL Research. I am Robert, your humble messenger and host of the Law of One. Welcome. Our question to QO. Would QO please give us an idea of the stages we might expect to see as we form a social memory complex here on Earth in fourth density? I am QO and am aware of your query, my sister. This is an interesting query, for indeed the first stage has begun. All of those who seek in the conscious fashion the one Creator without discriminating the name of such a Creator, or the qualities of such a Creator, or the source of such a Creator, but simply realize that such a Creator exists and that there is the great desire within the self to serve that Creator in whatever way possible, is an entity which is making itself available for the harvest into your fourth density of love and understanding. It is important that each such conscious seeker realize that no matter how much information has been gathered to describe the nature of the Creator and its ability to express itself in each iota of the creation, that still there is little that is known about either the Creator or this journey that you are upon. For this density of choice is a density in which little is known, that there is no true understanding. There is the desire to gather information and to move forward in what is seen to be the spiritual journey, using this information as a means of describing the path that is walked and the steps that are taken, and as you have mentioned, the stages through which each passes. Thus, the beginning stage is that which is the conscious realization of the path upon which each seeker of truth now moves. As what you call time transpires throughout the remainder of this third density illusion, and there is much confusion, much disharmony, much antagonism, division, and pain of the spiritual nature that is experienced by the greater majority of your population. Those entities who have qualified themselves through their own seeking of truth will find further means of polarizing their consciousness more towards that which is of service to others. For there will be many instances and opportunities for serving those who are in spiritual pain, in mental distress, in physical disease. For there is much of a disharmonious atmosphere within this planetary sphere. Your Mother Earth has been severely distressed for many thousands of your years by this disharmonious atmosphere and attitude, which is now accumulating in the divisions between peoples, groups, countries that now express upon the third density level of experience. As time continues to move forward into the fourth density vibrations of love and understanding, there will be a decreasing population due to many factors that will allow entities to pass from this incarnation and to move through the cycle of light into the tunnel of light that measures the vibration of each entity, so that it may be determined by each entity's ability to welcome and enjoy an increasing intensity of light, whether or not this entity shall indeed move into the fourth density that is now forming upon this planetary sphere. Wars, disease, and simple old age will take their toll upon this planetary population, continuing to reduce it as time moves forward. As you are aware, there is no accurate means of determining exactly how long this time period will last until the fourth density is fully in its vibratory mode upon your planet Earth. However, there will come that time when the population has dwindled and reached its 0 point. As this time approaches, the fourth density sphere will continue to be increasing in its population, so that those entities who have been able to welcome and enjoy fourth density vibrations will find themselves upon a new Earth with new capacities of understanding. Each entity will be able to perceive the thoughts and the feelings and the vibratory level of each other being, so that there is a beginning blending of these vibrations in a manner which reveals self to other selves as self. Thus, each entity will begin to feel a kinship, shall we say, a beating of similar hearts, a walking of the same path, a seeking of the same service to others qualities that are existent within the self. As each entity then becomes more and more aware of the circle of other entities about it, and is able to absorb these entities' conscious vibrations of selfhood, then there will become a new experience of what you call reality, or another illusion in which the light is more densely packed and reveals more information to each entity dwelling within this light-filled environment. The progress, or the stages, as you have called them, of the blending of vibrations becomes amplified with the addition of each entity passing through that so-called tunnel of light, the vibrations of which are able to entice or draw towards it those passing from the third density illusion. As more and more entities then become aware of their new environment, there is the opening of each heart to each other heart. The opening of each mind to each other mind. The blending of the spirit, so that there is the ability to give and receive love in a fashion that is harmonious to all entities engaged in this group process. Thus, each entity brings a living library of experience with it, as it is able to find a place within the beingness of the group. Each entity, therefore, will discover that there is a greater sense of self that enlarges itself within each portion of the group energies. Thus, there is the creation of what you would call a social memory complex that has a type of identity that is much likened unto the cells of the body of the one creator, becoming conscious of the creator within each entity. Thus, the process of blending of these vibrations of each entity has, at its disposal, the total living bank of each memory from each entity's incarnations throughout the third density experience. Therefore, there is a time in which this blending may be completed, a time that is not measured as you measure time. This time may be seen as a kind of opening into the infinite intelligence of the one creator, so that each entity, thus offering itself into this blending, becomes aware of the nature of the one creator, not only within itself, but also within each other entity within this newly forming circle of being, which you would call either a group mind or a social memory complex. Is there a further query, my sister? Not for that. Thank you so much, QO. That was beautiful. I am QO, and we thank you, my sister. Is there another query at this time? I do have one other. Forgiveness of self is referred to often in the messages we've received from the Confederation, but it is something I struggle with. Would you please expand on this topic and help us see the path to take to arrive at self-forgiveness? I am QO and am aware of your query, my sister. The forgiveness of the self is that which, when accomplished, allows the self to be able to move forward unfettered by the judgment of the self by the self. All judgment may be seen in a dual fashion. Judgment of a beginning nature, shall we say, is that which recognizes qualities within the being, which are not as desired by the being, for they are considered to be other than that which is harmonious. The beginning judgment of the entity recognizes disharmony and that which offers the opportunity to grow through the harmonization of that which is disharmonious within the being. This involves the conscious recognition of each portion of the disharmonious experience as being that which has within it certain qualities would allow the seeker of truth to expand its perception of itself. Thus, the ability to recognize that which needs to be balanced by its polar opposite is that which offers the concept of wholeness to the seeker of truth. In perceiving the self as becoming whole, it is necessary for the seeker to see the self as that which has made what could be described as a misstep or an error, and hold this misstep or error against the self as being a foolish movement, and thus increasing the judgment that began the apprehension of the nature of the supposed misstep. However, after the recognition by the self of the seeming misstep, it is necessary for the entity to realize that this misstep has not been a misstep after all, but has been a movement towards growth and the expansion of the perception of the self that requires that the self be able to accept itself as a new and risen being, shall we say, a being with a new probability vortex as a result of being able to move forward from the original position to the new position of more harmony and acceptance of the self. This acceptance of the self is another means of describing forgiveness. It is necessary for the entity to forgive itself for making what was seen to be a misstep. This forgiveness is possible as one sees that there has been a measurable growth in the awareness of the self, due to the experience of the need to process the catalyst resulting from the seeming misstep. Thus, the completion of the process of learning, which can also be described as stopping the wheels of karma, is accomplished. As the self realizes that every step that is taken by the self is necessary for progress in conscious growth of the self. Thus, the forgiveness of the self is a primary part of this learning. If there has been an interaction with another self that has also been a portion of this disharmonious experience of the seeker of truth, then this other self must also be forgiven. For it is truly the case that each self is the other self. Each other self is the self, so that it is necessary to forgive the self in both cases, and the other self in both entities. Therefore, there is the breaking of the inertia, or the momentum that has carried the self to this point where it has been able to process the catalysts and to produce experience that is the fuel for future growth. Is there another query, my sister? No, thank you, QO. This gives me a lot to think about. I am QO, and again, we thank you, my sister. Is there another query at this time? Yes, QO, it's my understanding that as the social memory complex forms, the planet itself becomes a part of that social memory complex and isn't just a host for it, but is an actual integral aspect of the social memory complex. Is this correct? And if so, could you talk about that relationship with the social memory complex and the planet? I am QO and am aware of your query, my brother. Again, this is a most interesting query. We hope that we may do justice to it. Your planetary sphere has itself moved through the same densities of this illusion of creation as have each of you, beginning within the first density, moving then from that which is simple awareness of earth, wind, fire, and water, moving then into the second density, where there is a consciousness that expresses itself as it moves towards the light, that being the second density beings of the plants and the animals, who are able to experience growth and movement in the beginning of self-conscious awareness, which is that quality which allows each second density being to move within the third density realm, to become that which is the completed entity, the mind, the body, and the spirit, being added in such a fashion to create a human being, as you might call them. Your Mother Earth has been central in this process of growth through the first three densities, and shall continue to be central in this movement into the fourth density of love and understanding. Thus, the process of experiencing that which is known as the consciousness of self is that which is added by the planet itself, for the planet has within it the conscious awareness of each entity that has inhabited its own beingness. The planetary entity, which you call your Gaia, or your Mother Earth, has, throughout limitless time, experienced its own consciousness and expressed it as the quality that you may see as pure awareness, the awareness of the one Creator that exists in all things at all times. This awareness within your Mother Earth has gone through the same stages of growth as has each entity within your third density illusion, and as each entity which moves into the fourth density. The qualities of conscious awareness have an expanded meaning within your Mother Earth, for her awareness is not just the awareness of her own beingness and her own body that may be seen quite simply as a movement of matter within time and space, but is also an awareness of each form of life upon its surface and within its beingness, as life exists at all levels of your Mother Earth. Thus, the interaction that she undertakes with you in conscious expansion of awareness is that which is a process of harmonizing its beingness with the upward spiraling line of light that moves each entity's awareness through each level of consciousness and each density of awareness. Thus, your Mother Earth moves with each of its total population of human beings and all beings of any nature, and indeed, within all things, be they rock, animal, or spiritual qualities of devotion, of seeking, of inspiration, of service to others, and service to self. Thus, your Mother Earth has within her living bank of memory the experiences of all life forms that have live upon her and within her, and she gives to each what you may call a very basic kind of inspiration that inspires at the cellular level, as well as all higher levels within each conscious being, and within all lower conscious and unconscious beings and substances. Thus, your Mother Earth moves in concert with its population, being one with each at a very basic level. Thus, all moves together within this illusion to the next illusion of the fourth density of love and understanding. Is there another query, my brother? That was very interesting, thank you. I have another one that is related to the transition to fourth density and the social memory complex. It seems that there is a technology that is being developed and has been developed that sort of represents the transition and the connection that fourth density and the social memory complex will have. Are these things a result of the fact that we are in fourth density and we are sort of trying to achieve that connection, but are using the technology as an excuse to get there instead of our spiritual evolution? I am QO and am aware of your query. We shall attempt to answer the query, for it is an interesting query. The technology that is available for the supposed movement of consciousness forward in its evolutionary pattern is much like unto the artist who draws a painting or picture that expresses the highest ideals known to the artist. The picture may be that which describes the advancing consciousness in many and varied ways as that which is more able to grasp the nature of creation, the quality of the Creator that inhabits each portion of the creation, and the place that the self finds that it is moving towards within this process of evolution. Technology can take the mind and the emotions a certain distance within the process of moving into the fourth density illusion by describing various qualities that may be enhanced within the individual's mind-body-spirit complex. Practice upon these techniques of realizing these qualities of opening the heart, of expanding the point of view, of sharing service and love, of seeing the self as one with all other selves, and as seeing the self as one with the Creator, for these are helpful frames of reference that may be utilized to an increasingly efficient degree by those who have the capacity of mental visualization and practice of these procedures. However, there is a certain, shall we say, limit to the effectiveness of such technology, for technology itself relies upon a limited point of view in order to be constructed and programmed to work towards the expansion of that which is limitless, that is, the spirit and the mind of the seeker of truth. Therefore, in some ways, such a technology may be illuminating for a time, for a certain amount of progress, but after this amount of growth has occurred, may not be able to complete the process for the seeker of truth utilizing the technology. At that point, the seeker must rely upon his or her own inner reserves of inspiration and information of both the mental and spiritual qualities that it seeks within the fourth density experience. Is there a final query at this time? Yes, we have a question sent in from our friend Thomas, and he writes, On November 14th, 1976, Hatan transmitted the following message. Although the concept of the second coming is grossly in error, and that the consciousness of the one known as Christ has come many times, there is an incarnation of the Master in consciousness at this time among your peoples. This Master, at this time, a young boy. He will be among your peoples and will aid them. Thomas continues, now it's about 40 years later. Does QO have any updated information on this person? I am QO and am aware of your query, my brother. To give this information is bordering upon abrogation of free will. We shall give what we feel is appropriate, and beg your forgiveness for not being able to be completely transparent in this matter. There has been some misperception generated regarding this transmission of information concerning the entity that is supposedly the one who has been called the Christ. There is the concept that this is the one known as Jesus the Christ. This is incorrect. This is an entity that has been able to achieve this level or station of consciousness through efforts of its own inner seeking that have been exercised for 4 of your decades to date. This entity resides in the high mountain areas in the Tibetan mountains as a result of feeling its own inner direction to pursue the healing of this planetary sphere, or your Mother Earth, by those techniques which you may call the visualization of light, healing the raptures in your planetary's earth garment or outer surface. This entity has joined with others of its kind, that is to say, who have a shared consciousness of the Christened One, who exists in all, and who has created all from itself. Thus, this entity and those who join with it are pursuing a specialized mission, shall we say, that has as its goal the healing of your planetary sphere, so that those ruptures in the outer garment that have occurred and will occur in your future, as you know time, may have as little a destructive effect as possible. Upon the physical environment and those third density beings within the area of the ruptures. This is the extent of the information that we feel is appropriate to share with you at this time. We are most grateful to have been called to your circle of seeking today, my friends. It is a great inspiration to us and for us, as always, for you are sincere in your seeking and in your sharing of the love and the light of the one infinite Creator, each with the other, and each with all whom you meet in your daily round of activities. At this time, we shall take our leave of this group, leaving each, as always, in that same love and light. We are known to you as those of QO, Adone Vasu Baragas. And it has been a pleasure speaking with you, my sisters and brothers. This is Robert. Be in peace, in the love and in the light of our infinite Creator. I love you.